I am making a gimmick puppet deck profile. I recently managed to get all the cards I needed for it, and I was very excited to be able to play gimmick puppet again since gimmick puppet was one of my favorite decks ever since I was. See, when was it? I think it was like 24. It's like 2014 or 2012. I don't remember which one. But when Cosmo was at the height of its power, and I had somehow managed to beat it with Gimmick Puppet, don't know how that happened, but oh well. But Gimmick Puppet now is more of an FTK deck, or OTK if you're going second. But the whole playstyle of Gimmick Puppet is just to burn your opponent, and I honestly really like that. Anyway, starting off with monsters, I play 3 copies of Gimmick Puppet Little Soldiers. Little Soldiers has the effect that when it's normal summoned, you can send a Gimmick Puppet from your deck to the graveyard, and then its level becomes that monster's level. And then you can banish it from your graveyard to target up to 2 Gimmick Puppets you control, and increase their levels by 4 till the end of the turn. You can only use each effect of Little Soldiers once per turn. Next, I play 2 copies of Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby. Terror Baby has the effect that if it's normal summoned, then you can target a Gimmick Puppet in your graveyard and special summon it. And then you can banish Terror Baby from your graveyard to make it so that... Let's see, which one was it? Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your Gimmick Puppet effects. Next, I play 3 copies of Gimmick Puppet Scissor Arms. Scissor Arms has the effect that when normal summoned, you can send a Gimmick Puppet from your deck to the graveyard. If you want to this card can easily be cut down to 1, but I'm testing it at 3, and so far I'm liking it. Next, I play 1 copy of Gimmick Puppet Drury Doll. Drury Doll has the effect that while it's in the graveyard, you can banish another Gimmick Puppet from your grave for cost. 2, then special summon it from your graveyard, and I believe it locks you into Xyz. Okay, no. It just can't be used for the Xyz summon of a monster except for a Gimmick Puppet. And then next, I play 3 copies of Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll. Rouge Doll has the effect that when it's sent from anywhere except your hand to the graveyard, you then get to add it back to your hand. And then, let's see. If it's in your hand, you can reveal a Gimmick Puppet Xyz monster from your extra deck. Special summon both this card and the Gimmick Puppet that has a level equal to that Xyz monster's rank from your deck. And you can only use each effect of Gimmick Puppet Rouge Doll once per turn. Next, I play 1 copy of Gimmick Puppet Bisque Doll. Bisque Doll has the effect that if you can special summon the card by discarding a Gimmick Puppet monster, and then you can banish it from your graveyard, then to make it so your opponent cannot target your Gimmick Puppet monsters with card effects for that turn. Honestly, I'm thinking about cutting Scissor Arms down to 2, Scissor Arms at 1, and then playing 2 or 3 Bisque Doll. I haven't figured out which one I want to do yet. Next, I also play 1 copy of Gimmick Puppet Cattle Scream. Cattle Scream has the effect that you can detach a material from an Xyz monster you control and special summon it from your hand or graveyard, but it gets banished when it leaves the field. And then you can only use that effect to Gimmick Puppet Cattle Scream once per turn. And then if you use it to Xyz summon a Gimmick Puppet monster, that monster gains the effect of you can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your opponent's field in defense position. That effect isn't really going to be used as much if you're trying to do the FTK. In the OTK, it might. But in the FTK version, you're just using it because it's a free level 8 body. Try to get it so that everything is focused. Or in focus. There we go. And then that's it for the Gimmick Puppet monsters. For the hand traps, I am playing 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler just has the effect that during your opponent's main phase, you can discard it to target an effect monster your opponent controls and negates effects. Next, I am playing 3 copies of Ghost Mourner. Mourner just has the effect that when your opponent special summons a monster, you can discard it, target that monster, and negates effects. And then if it leaves the field, your opponent then takes damage equal to that monster's effect. Or effect, equal to its attack. And then you will use that effect of Ghost Mourner once per turn. And then I also play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Ash Blossom is just a really good hand trap, so play 3 of it. And then, to finish off the hand traps, I play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Permanence can be activated from your hand while you control no cards. You then target one monster your opponent controls and negates effects. And if it was set when this effect was activated, it negates all spells and traps in the same column as it for the turn. Moving on to the spells, I play 1 copy of Set Rotation. Set Rotation lets you take 2 field spells from your deck. I believe they have to be with different names. You set 1 to your field and set 1 to your opponent's field. And then neither player can activate a new field spell until they activate the set field spell. And then the field spell I typically will give my opponent is Magical Midbreaker Field. I'm only using this one specifically because of how I don't have Chicken Game. If I had Chicken Game, I'd be using that instead. But Magical Midbreaker Field just makes so that neither player can target or destroy the opponent's monsters. And then while it's active, while it's on the field, your opponent or you cannot activate a new field spell. So if my opponent has it, they'll either leave it set since they can't use field spells, or they will activate it just so they can get the protections of it. But it just kind of conflicts with the deck a lot because it just turns off the effects of Imperm, Veiler, Mourner, all the destruction effects for your burning. This card's definitely going to be replaced with Chicken Game. The other thing I could do is, if I could replace Magical Midbreaker Field for... Actually, I'll probably replace it with Oracle of Zephyra, because I think I still have that. Oracle of Zephyra just makes, unless your opponent's playing a Zephyra deck, which is highly unlikely, that they can't activate it, because to activate it you have to add a Zephyra monster from your deck to your hand. Next, I play 1 copy of Foolish Burial. This just lets you add Rouge Doll to your hand, or you can send Terror Baby, Bisque Doll, or Jury Doll, which all have great effects. Next, for 1 of spells, I play 1 copy of Called by the Grave, just to stop hand traps. 1 copy of Terraforming, so I can get to the really broken field spell. And I also play 1 copy of Rank Up Magic Argent Chaos Force. Argent Chaos Force has the effect where you target a rank 5 or higher Xyz monster you control. Special summon 1 Chaos number or Chaos Xyz from your extra deck that has 1 rank higher with the same type. And then if this card's in your graveyard and you Xyz summon a rank 5 or higher Xyz monster, then you can add it from your graveyard back to your hand, and you can use that effect of Argent Chaos Force once per turn. You can activate it to summon more Chaos monsters as many times as you want, but you can only return it to your hand with its effect once per turn. And lastly, for the 1 of spells, I play 1 copy of Rank Up Magic Numeron Force. Rank Up Magic Numeron Force lets you target a number monster you control, summon a Chaos number that's 1 rank higher, that has the same, I believe it has to be the same type and number in its name. Let's see. Okay, no, it just has to be the same type. And then the other effect it has is it then negates the effects of all other face-up cards on the field except for the summoned monster, which I actually really like. It's in here for if you're going second. Because it's really funny if your opponent just lets it resolve, not realizing that it then negates all their cards. Next, I play 3 copies of Condolence Puppet. Condolence Puppet lets you send gimmick puppet monsters from your deck to the graveyard, equal to the number of monsters your opponent controls that are special summoned from the extra deck, +1. And then it also has the effect that you can banish from your graveyard, target a Machine Xyz monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while face up on the field, and you can only use each effect of Condolence Puppet once per turn. That grave effect of Condolence Puppet hardly ever actually matters, but it's at least nice to have. And lastly, for the spells, I play 3 copies of Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls is actually a 1-card FTK in this deck, as long as your opponent doesn't negate it, because if they ash this, then you really have to hope that you already have the gimmick puppet, the little soldiers. But it has the effect that when it's activated, you can add a gimmick puppet monster from your deck to your hand. And then it makes so that your gimmick puppet monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle and are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monster effects, except for Xyz monsters. And then it also has the effect of once per turn, you can detach material from an Xyz monster you control, target a gimmick puppet in your graveyard, special summon it to your opponent's field and defense position. You can only use you can only activate one Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls per turn. But the effect of giving an monster to your opponent matters for one of the monsters in the extra deck, which I will explain when I get to it. And the last card I play in the deck is one copy of Service Puppet Play. Service Puppet Play has the effect that you can target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of Gimmick Puppet Xyz monsters you control. Take control of them until the end phase. And then this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there. And you control a Gimmick Puppet Xyz monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. To then target one Xyz monster in either graveyard, special summon it to either field and defense position. And you can only use each effect of Service Puppet once per turn. You're only playing the one because it's a free card you can search off of one of the monsters for the FTK. It just gives you an option should the FTK fail for some reason. The main thing I was planning on changing with the main deck was adding more Bisque Doll, just because sometimes you just need a discard. You just need another body in play. And then taking out Scissor Arms to replace it, or even taking out the Magical Midbreaker field and set rotations for more Gimmick Puppets. But anyway, for the extra deck, I play 2 copies of Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll. Chimera Doll has the effect that, let's see, it was during your main phase, if you control this link summon card, you can activate its effect. It locks you out of your extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Machine Xyz monsters. But you gotta take a Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to your graveyard, and then you can summon a Gimmick Puppet from your hand. And then make sure it's the only effect. Yes, it is. And then you can only use that effect a Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll once per turn. Then next I play the 1 copy of Gimmick Puppet Gigantus Doll. Gigantus Doll, you're never going to summon this, it's just in here for Bisque Doll's effect. So that you can special summon a level 4 Gimmick Puppet from the deck. Next I play 1 copy of number 15 Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder. Giant Grinder has the effect that up to twice per turn, you can detach a material, target a monster, special summon monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and if it was an Xyz monster, your opponent then takes damage equal to the Xyz monster's original, or I believe it's original attack. Yes. But Giant Grinder is what you're using to use or for the FTK, as you give your opponent, you'll be giving your opponent Xyz monsters, is what it ends with. And then next, I play 2 copies of Gimmick Puppet Fantasix Machinix, or Machinix. I haven't figured it out yet. But it has the effect that you can detach material from it to then add a rank up magic spell from your deck to your hand. And you get additional normal summon of a machine monster during your main phase this turn. And you can only get that effect once. Then if you special summon a Gimmick Puppet Xyz monster, except in a damage step, you can special summon this card from your graveyard to either field and defense position. Then you can add a rank up magic spell from your graveyard to your hand. So usually what you do with this, you'll summon it, detach material, add Argent Chaos Force, and then you'll use Argent Chaos Force to summon it into its Chaos form. Next, I play 2 copies of number 40 Gimmick Puppet of Strings. Gimmick Puppet of Strings has the effect that once per turn you can detach material, attach string counters to all monsters on all other monsters on the field, and then during your opponent's end phase, all monsters with string counters will be destroyed, and then your opponent will take 500 points of damage for each monster that was destroyed. But those string counters aren't going to last until your opponent's end phase, as you will use the Chaos form to then, well, I'll explain that when I get to it. And lastly, for the non-Chaos Xyz Gimmick Puppets, I play 1 copy of number 88, Gimmick Puppet of Leo. Gimmick Puppet of Leo has the effect that once per turn, you can detach a material if you have no cards in your spell and trap zone to then make it so you can't conduct your battle phase, but it gets a string or a destiny counter. And then once it has 3 destiny counters, you win. However, you're never going to use that effect, as you're immediately going to be ranking it up into Chaos number 88. Next, I play 1 copy of Chaos number 15, Gimmick Puppet Giant Hunter. Giant Hunter has the effect that once per turn, you can detach a material, target a card on your opponent's field, destroy it, and if it was a monster, you inflict damage equal to that monster's original attack. I believe it's it's a once per turn effect. Next, I play 2 copies of Chaos XE's Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinics. This monster has the effect that when special summoned, you can add a puppet trap and reduct to your hand. And then you can detach material from this card. Special summon a monster from either graveyard to your opponent's field in defense position. The monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, except during the damage step. You can target one of them to destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. And then next, I play 2 copies of Chaos number 40, Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings. Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings has the effect that when it's special summoned, it destroys all monsters with a string counter. Your opponent takes damage equal to the monster with the highest original attack of those monsters, which usually would be like 3,300. 33 or 31. Because usually you'll summon this after summoning that. And then you then get to draw 1 card. And then the last card I play is 1 copy of Chaos number 88, Gimmick Puppet Disaster Leo. Disaster Leo has the effect that once per turn, you can detach material, inflict is that 1,000 or 2,000? Let's see. Turn. You can detach 1 material to inflict 1,000 points of damage to your opponent. And then during your end phase, if it has no materials and your opponent's life points are 2,000 or less, you win. And its last effect, which I probably should have mentioned first, is that it must be special summoned from your extra deck by using a rank up magic targeting number 88 Gimmick Puppet of Leo. And it cannot be special summoned by other ways, and it cannot be targeted by card effects. And then next, and that's it for the extra deck. And now I will attempt to show the 1 card FTK. So, the 1 card combo is you activate the Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. Its effect will grab you Little Soldiers. Then you will normal summon Little Soldiers, reveal any rank 8 in your deck. So like you can reveal this one. Then send Bisque Doll to the grave and make it level 8. Then Bisque Doll will return to your hand, where you can then... Oh, I skipped a step. You normally send Bisque Doll will summon itself. Then you reveal the rank 8 for Bisque Doll, summoning itself, and a level 8 Gimmick Puppet from deck. You'll then summon the Cattle Scream. Then you will overlay these 2 for Machinics. Machinics will then activate its effect, detaching the Cattle Scream, to then be able to add your Argent Chaos Force to hand, and giving you the additional normal summon that you'll need later. Then you will activate the rank up magic, targeting the Machinics, to summon Fanatics Machinics. And then its effect will just let you add Service Puppet on summon, which doesn't really matter, but it's a free card. And then what you will do then... Trying to remember how this works. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Because this is level 8 because of its effect for dumping the thing. Then you will detach the Machinics from the Gimmick Puppet to then summon back Cattle Scream. Overlay them for Gimmick Puppet of Strings. Argent Chaos Force then returns to your hand. Then you'll use Strings effect. It doesn't matter which one you discard or detach. You're putting a string counter on Machinics. Then you will Argent Chaos Force, ranking up into your Dark Strings. This will be destroyed, inflicting 31 to your opponent. And then when you summon Dark Strings, you will also be giving your opponent the Machinax. Or, yeah, giving it to your opponent. You summon it to your field. And then it will then return the Argent Chaos Force to your hand. Then you will link these off for your copy of Chimera Doll. Then you'll use Chimera Doll's effect to then add your Terror Baby to your hand. We'll normal summon it. Its effect will bring back any level 8 Gimmick Puppet. You will then use Little Soldiers, banishing it to make the Terror Baby level 8. Overlay them for Giant Grinder. You will then detach the material from the Giant Grinder to use the effect of Dreadful Dolls to give your opponent the Dark Strings. Then you'll use Giant Grinder to destroy the Dark Strings and inflict 33 to your opponent. Then make sure I'm reading this card right. Then you'll use Argent Chaos Force again, this time summoning Fanatics. And to the summoning of the Fanatics, you'll use the Machinax Engrave, giving it to your opponent. Machinax will then activate to destroy this and then inflict the remaining damage to your opponent. Wait, that's 79. No, that's 8,000. And then that's the FTK. And if you have any ideas what you can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks like this to be made in the future, or decks like this face each other, comment down below. I will also be making updates to the Gimmick Puppet deck once, I believe it's Gimmick Puppet, Fiendish Knight, and Shark Puppet, or Puppet Style, or Shark Puppet Style, I think it is. Once those cards get released, then I will make an updated version of this deck. But if you have any ideas what you can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks like to see face each other, or decks like to see be made in the future, comment down below. I always read the comments. Thank you for watching.